welcome to Ward 13. For some reason, I'm looking over it. We're never supposed to stare at that monitor. This is my co-host, Gracie Gatto. Kindred soul that I can't remember how we found out, but
I don't know.
That's for the second half of the show.
Yeah.
Because the first half of the show, we have Mike Lopez. Now, Mike, if you're any age from like 12 to 110, you don't need an introduction, but why don't you introduce yourself?
Well, Mike Lopez, I'm a former alderman, spent 12 years as an alderman, and I've been on the Charter Commission 3 times. This is my 3rd time being on a Charter Commission, and I was very happy to be on this one.
Yeah, you were alderman at large for at least 3 terms. For 12 years, you were alderman at large. Then you were the chairman of the board.
I was chairman of the board for 8 years.
But you were on the 1998 Charter Commission.
Yes.
And then, this is so complex. We're only going to introduce stuff, like for the first half hour. The one thing that always surprised me when I'd go to the charter and look at it is that the board of the school committee, there's like a third of a page out of all those pages. Why was there so little about the school board?
Well, you're speaking back in 1998 because Chapter 4 and Chapter 6 is a very small portion, as you indicated. It was designed that way.
It was?
Yes, because the school board, which they call school district,
Yeah. The Manchester School District,
yes,
SAU 37,
right.
And there's state laws that dictate everybody has to have public schools. That's a thing that my Puritan forefathers brought, the public school, and that was in the Articles of Confederation, Northwest Ordinance. Public schools was essential to democracy. So, and also an elected school board, right? or is that so essential? But the point is, the school board, and what happens to the school board is regulated by the state laws, right? RSA.
Absolutely. There's over 200 regulations on regulating the schools. One of the examples is the superintendent of the schools. There's an RSA of his duties. And, it's a separation between the political and what the superintendent of all schools is supposed to do. So that's what makes it very complicated, okay, is because it's not just carte blanche that you can do anything you want. The aldermen have no control over the schools, none, except on the budget.
Yeah, people don't understand that, do they? I was talking to one of your predecessors as the chairman of the board, Bill Cashin. We're all from Ward 10, but he told me that was not something the Board of Aldermen generally dealt with. It was complex, and they had all the complexities of running the city. But I didn't really understand until the charter question came up in the Charter Commission, which I ran for, and I did not understand how much there was not much local control. And you were the chairman of the Charter Commission, were you not?
Right.
Yeah.
There's not, when you say there's not local control, meaning local control, there's no control with the aldermen to tell the school board because they're under, like I said, about 200 RSAs that they have to comply with. They're strictly how they deal with their money and everything, education, period. But there are some things that could be changed.
Right.
I don't want to get too much into it to confuse the issue, but there are things in the charter that can be changed locally that doesn't affect the RSAs. If the school board, for an example, one of the recommendations wanted to make their own chairman instead of the mayor.
Right.
Well, in the original charter, 1998, which is over 20 years old, and it's only been changed once, a charter's got to be made so it's very hard to change.
Right.
Otherwise you'd be changing every year. So what transpires here is in the process of they elected a charter commission to look at either amending Chapter 4 and Chapter 6 of the city charter,
Right.
or create its own charter, like Concord does.
Yeah, yeah.
Concord has their own charter. They set their own tax rate, everything.
Right, yeah. I was, when I was doing research, about Concord, it seems more rational that way.
Yeah,
in some ways. But philosophically, I'd like to see everything under the control of, like, the alderman, like the House of Representatives handles all money and stuff. But is that practical, Mike?
no, it's not. It's
Yeah.
not. It's not practical. The alderman could never do, in my opinion, the alderman, and I was there.
Oh, yeah.
They couldn't do the school board's job. It'd have to be full-time people, period, working every day.
Yeah.
And that's why you have a separation of the Manchester School District Board, School Committee, and you have the alderman. And that's why the aldermen only give the budget. And I can tell you from experience, you go back in history, every budget that's been offered by the mayor under the tax cap, the school board received it. So there's
Yes.
so much delay in between.
Oh,
I think there was one time, one mayor, it was brought to my attention that one time a mayor did give lower than the tax cap, but the alderman seen what was going on and ended up giving the school what they were supposed
That's
to.
right. That was right. That was a couple,
So-
2 or 3 years ago. One of the things we face is, Gracie, you're only 4 years in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
We have the Claremont decision, 1 and 2. Andrew Valinsky, who ran for governor, was the lead attorney, and the Supreme Court ruled that it was unconstitutional because some schools systems just don't have much money. Like, I think sometimes they say 10,500 for Manchester per student. Sometimes it gets up to 11,500. Where, like, one of my sisters lives in Amherst, and it's like 14,000. And the Supreme Court said, well, this is unconstitutional. People aren't getting, the income's equality. But this is New Hampshire. It's not like New Jersey or
Is
New
it
York.
pay to play here as far as like schools? Like if you pay for private, then you get, a certain amount of education, whereas public school, you just kind of have to deal with it.
Oh, yeah, public schools, public education, there's nothing wrong with public education. Private schools are separate, charter schools are separate.
Yeah.
Right.
That's all separate that they run, and we have no control over that, but the Board of Education has control over it.
What we're talking about is the financing of the schools, because
Right.
New Hampshire, this is the biggest city. In a way, we handle like all the problems. Like in Detroit, Michigan, where my father and stepmother lived,
Yeah.
they have they'll try to help a city, and we have a real problem financing education. And
That's a shame.
since the Board of Aldermen has to vote on the budget, which includes the school budget, and there's the political consideration of the tax cap, because nobody wants to pay any more property taxes. When you go knock on those doors in New Hampshire, you knock on a door. What's the things they talk about? Like taxes, and then crime. That's recently shot up, like started in 2015. So there's a big political, let's say, exigencies of politics not to vote to override the tax cap, because you could be punished, and we've seen people that have. So the schools are stuck in catch-22, where
Wow.
there's other words we could say in the Army, but this is public
Yeah,
TV.
but I think that in the long run, where you can have a separation
Right.
and stop all the bickering back and forth, and still comply with the city charter, such as an example, the tax cap. They could not override the tax cap. They cannot override the tax cap.
Right, because that's not in the law. The tax cap is law, too.
It's law within, and the people that fought to put the tax cap there, I mean, it's there.
So, the political considerations of an alderman over the tax cap are the same with a school board member, because there's even more turnover there. But
but
this
let me-
propaganda from the corner we all know and love so much that that this is going to, if you vote yes on one, it's going to allow the school board to just override the tax cap, really
No.
soak people. That's not true.
No, you have false information being put out there, and like I said, a charter is very hard to change, and people have their own viewpoint as to what it should be, and like you indicate, some people out there advocate that they can override the tax. They cannot override the tax cap.
Okay.
The alderman are the only ones. It takes 10 aldermen to override a tax. They can ask for money, for an example. First of all, we're getting ahead of ourselves for the simple reason that this charter amendment only is a procedure.
Right. Let's go to that because you're going to come back. Let's do what happened. The Attorney General, they had a charter commission. They had everything worked out after how many hours, Mike?
Almost 8 months.
And then what happened?
Well, what happened was
the Attorney General.
we came up with 4 different questions pertaining to the school local things, such as it was decided that we'd make a recommendation, for an example, that the mayor, the board of school committee would elect their own chairman, for an example.
Right. That's very reasonable because I've heard people say the mayor shouldn't be the chair of that.
Under the existing charter, they have to present a tax cap budget to the mayor.
Right.
Okay. So, in changing this procedure as another one, and that's
it's Byzantine.
Right. In 221, if all this was on the ballot for 221, all you'd be authorizing them to set their own budget under the tax cap as it is today.
Right.
And keep the alderman out. The only time they would go to the alderman, for an example, if they wanted more money to override the tax cap. That's it.
That seems perfectly reasonable.
They run it. But I don't want to get ahead.
Right. So,
if this procedure doesn't pass, there is no procedure for them to do anything.
We're going to hand the baton to you. Mike, take it over.
Well, everybody that's requesting an absentee ballot today are going to get 2 ballots. One is the presidential ballot and one is a question. Question 1 is a procedure, local procedure for the city to amend the school particular portion of the charter. And like in it. But the procedure that they have to follow is 49B. That explains all the different things that you have to do. It explains who has the authority, the board of mayor and aldermen. It explains 15 different subsections and about 9 subsections you have to comply with. Those are the procedures that you have to, it's not just saying, oh, we want to change this and we're going to change that.
What's so funny is that you folks were on and it was a broad array of people, and people like John Clayton, like Mr. Manchester and all that. But you were criticized from the peanut gallery for actually, you spent money on lawyers. Of course you need lawyers. Like you said, when you go through the RSAs, the New Hampshire laws, RSAs, they are, I was trained to do that. I was a legal editor, but it's not simple.
No, it's not. It's not very simple.
Right.
It's like everybody was saying. Okay, and I don't want to get too far, but give an example. When we became charter commissioners, we want the students to be able to vote on the school board.
Right.
It's not an issue for the charter commission. There's a state law that doesn't allow that.
Of course not.
And it's a school board issue.
Right.
It's not a charter commission issue.
In Litchfield, they've been on for 30 years.
Right,
and there hasn't been a revolution in Litchfield.
But the biggest thing is when you receive your ballot there, and you read it, those naysayers out there, all of this is a procedure, period. All the recommendations that we made, that'll be up to the aldermen to put it on the ballot for 2021.
Right.
If they want to, or use the commission as a committee, establish their own committee if they want to. We gave them all kind of ins and outs. But the municipal officers are the board of mayor and aldermen, and they're the ones. This procedure has to be there according to the Attorney General. We had everything ready to go. We produced all the documents for our recommendations, and the Attorney General said no.
Right.
You have to have a procedure first. And this is where we're at today.
And so the voters of Manchester get to vote on everything. Anything subsequently that's going to come. If I'm going to vote yes, which will give the ability to keep the state budding out, and that we can have control of the process, and then we engage the process, and then people are going to vote for that. It's
And
not
I
giving the
assure
school
you-
board powers.
I want to
Right.
assure the voters out there of Manchester, any change that's made, you would have to approve it.
Exactly. Yeah.
This is just a procedure. That's all it is. Don't let people confuse you.
Yeah, it's democracy. It's getting freedom. We're getting freedom from the state to actually deal with some issues
Right.
and to rationalize the process.
Well,
Yeah,
there's a process, and there's, I mean, you're not going to be able to go in and change RSAs just like that without going to the Secretary of State and all those people too. So, but
Right.
these are just the procedures, and some of the procedures you don't have to. You just put them on the ballot, and this is what we want to do, and the voters will decide. So it's not just you're going to dictate what you're going to do in the charter, because you got to remember, Manchester has one charter. It's
That's
a city
right.
charter. Concord has two charters. They have a school charter, and they have a city charter.
right. A lot of cities have.
Right, and
to-
we don't. So everything has to be going through the city charter.
I didn't realize till I started looking, about the Charter Commission. These issues go back over 100 years.
Oh, yes.
The separation to get the mayor and the aldermen out because they used the school system as patronage and they were always interfering with things. So it was good government to get rid of them. And yeah, because we have Joe Kelly Lavasser calls the school board, what does he call it? The children's table. Now, how can you go about your business when you have somebody like that,
It's
Well,
dominion,
people are elected as a school board member, or
They take
or
it
an
very
alderman.
seriously.
It's a tough job. Being an alderman is a tough job. Being a school board member is a tough job. How do you like to sit there for 4 or 5 hours worrying about this and worrying about? Sometimes I do agree, and it's no secret. You get too micromanaged when you're paying people good money. You don't want to micromanage. You want to make policy, and that's like the board of mayor and aldermen too. And having the TV, they're taking so much time, eating so much, like everybody's a lawyer.
Oh yeah, that's a whole another issue. I would do, once they put the cameras in there, it's like Joe Lavasser has been called the best actor in Manchester. I should give him a plastic Oscar I have. But you're here. We got another 10 minutes. You, with all your experience, you're here to ask the citizens to vote for one, and there's nothing, absolutely nothing to be afraid of. It's actually going to promote local control, keep the state will always be there,
Oh yeah.
but on this issue of just, adjusting this, it's over, having the state in here is over regulation. And what's so funny is that there's the people that are really attacking this are always the ones, the government's so intrusive and this and that. They're
Well,
playing politics. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's not that they understand it.
Oh, yeah, you understand
they-
it well what they're
they
doing.
understand that this is
We
just
know that.
just a procedure.
Yeah, though they know that perfectly well.
Everybody's saying, you hear some people saying, well, where's the procedure?
It's right there.
Look at the ballot. Look at the information. 49B is the procedure you have to go by to make
Yeah.
any changes.
I have a question. Now, how do you reach the voters?
How do I reach the voters?
Yeah, how do you reach the voters too? Because a lot of them are full of misinformation. They go to Facebook for information. That's the worst place to go. How are you going to?
Sell the.
Basically
Well,
sell it. Yeah,
I would hope that social media would play a major part in this. I've had some conversation with
Yeah.
Manchester Proud. I'm sure I've been assured they're going to be out there promoting to pass this procedure. I know that Pat Holton is
Yeah.
also working on his particular committee to go out there and promote the passing it. And don't be afraid of it. It's just a procedure. It's got to have something in the charter. The Attorney General made that ruling. Now, could we fight the Attorney General for?
Yeah, but it would, time is running out.
Where are you going to get the money to fight? And
Yeah.
he made a ruling. We'll abide by the ruling. We have to abide by the ruling unless we go to court, and then
You can't appeal it,
Well, we
They could,
but it
we
costs
could.
money.
but the election's coming.
The
And
election is coming, and we had to make a decision what is the best, and what is best for Manchester, and what is less expensive, and what is a good thing.
And you
Okay.
tried to answer the earlier reservations the Attorney General had, too.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
did, and
And you made some.
yeah, I don't really want to get
Adjustments.
into
Right, that's-
I mean that's beside that's over.
It's
the dam.
already done.
It's done. He made his ruling. This is the answer. He
Yeah.
accepted the ballot question. He said, "Okay, put it on the ballot. Let the voters of Manchester,
Right.
decide the procedure to move forward to the next step." You know, being on a charter commission, I just want to say this: it's not easy. You can't jump to C before you do B. We've done A. The Attorney General said you got to do B. You have to do B before you go on.
Right.
Otherwise, you start from scratch again.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's happened too many times here in Manchester.
Yeah.
You know, there were a couple other. Was there another couple charter commissions about the schools, or was there just one other?
Well, there was a couple other charter
One's in
committees.
2013.
Yeah,
Nothing got through.
nothing.
Yeah.
The only one that ever got through was the tax cap.
Right.
And they did a lot of work on it, and I admired those people. I wish they'd take a good look at it too. This nothing to do with the tax cap. Nothing to do with the tax cap. The
No.
aldermen have that authority. So this is just a procedure to get the bickering between the aldermen and the schools. Period.
Right, but we get to vote on that. Whether
Absolutely.
that bicker, we need this to go through so we can actually consider the issue of doing anything
That's
to
correct.
improve the system.
Right.
It's just such a no-brainer, but we know what politics is like.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Manchester is a combat politics all the time.
Oh, only Washington D.C. is worse than,
Right.
than here. You know.
It's sort of like a
It's
mosh
24/7.
pit of
Yeah.
Shark Tank. Have you noticed
Yeah.
that? It's,
Everybody in New Hampshire, it's just politics all the time.
yeah.
Only Washington, where it's a professional business, although it is here too to some people. They're obsessed too. It's like being in Texas about football, you know? Texans in football, you know? It's just like,
This
like-
will,
yeah.
this will, like the sign says, make a better Manchester. Vote,
yeah.
vote yes on question 1.
It's so simple. This enables us to even consider changing stuff.
Absolutely.
It gives us control and freedom.
well, what I've noticed in my time here in New Hampshire is
Just
people
4 years from
Yeah.
from Los Angeles.
from Los
California.
Angeles. I'm a fish out of water, and I'm actually kind of taking everything in from a third party perspective, where people here are, they're kind of used to this. They've lived it. And I'm kind of used to a different type of crazy, which is, the whole Hollywood scene. So, I honestly thought nothing would shock me, but this place shocks me.
Wait until you get to know it some more, huh?
So, when you're talking, I am just like, I have a 4-year-old, and
Yeah.
this is what we're up against. And,
Oh, you should see the battles in towns.
oh my God.
Yeah. The free. We won't get into the politics, so that's a whole nother show. And I want you back. And this has got to. People
We
got to
gotta
start
push
talking
this.
about
Yeah,
this.
we got to push this
Need to
now.
talk
It's so
about-
simple. You're not even. It's like saying here's a constitution or something. Either so it enables you to do things.
Yeah.
And you got to sign a big John Hancock on it.
Yeah,
you know?
it's like you know what? You're right. It's the Declaration of Independence. Because the state does love to interfere. In a state that's not supposed to, right? Live
Well,
free or die.
the control. I mean, you have to have
Responsible
You have to be
controls.
responsible and continuity. And the schools is a big thing in any community. And whatever the regulations are, you have to deal with it. I mean, those are the regulations. I mean,
And federal too.
and
which is
federal
fun.
regulations are involved, and they have to. The school board has a tough job, very
Yeah.
tough job. Because they have to be fair to everybody, and they had the last time they had a what is it, the National Association, NACP, is that it?
Oh, you mean the NAACP
Yeah, yeah,
that time?
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Let's
They
not.
had those
that's-
people
yeah.
come here and change some policies.
Yeah, that was a memorable.
So
They're good people.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's
Both you and Gracie are you're part Mexican.
Oh,
Gracie's
you're part Mexican too.
You
Yeah.
know,
Okay.
And part Italian.
And part Italian.
She's
So
part-
see, I get a lot. That's a whole other story. That's the next segment.
Yeah.
That's the next segment.
So anyways, I'm asking the people to
We'll cut that. These
take a good
remarks
look
we
at the question. And some people say it's complicated. Fine. If it's complicated, you got a question, give me a call. People make it complicated.
Yeah.
A lot of people do. So it's just a change and given a procedure for us to move forward to the next step. And as I indicated, you have to do B, and this is B before you go to C. You know,
That's great.
otherwise you
Yeah.
start all over, and
It's the Declaration of Independence before we get, the Constitution.
right,
Oh
that's
gosh.
it.
Yeah, but it is
So-
because, people don't have to be afraid because schools are regulated by state law.
Yeah.
They can't go
And the other thing is
the
This
other
is-
side. They're
this
going to
is
go
the-
wild and burn down the schools.
this question.
Yeah.
This question that's on the ballot, if I mention it, approved by the Attorney General for the state of New Hampshire,
Yep.
the DRA, the Department of Revenue, and the Secretary of State. 3 major organizations approved moving this forward to the ballot. So if they thought something was wrong with it,
Right, and
would've-
this is
they would've said
cross-party stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
but they said, very good, that's your procedures, you gotta have it in your charter.
Right, because we even had to change the law to be able even to consider it.
That's
yeah,
correct.
with Pat Long had that introduced the law. It's a very complex subject.
Well, it is. I mean, this is the way they went and had the law and all that. There's all the existing charter. I mean, could be changed, but it's very tough. It's tough, and the charter should be changed, it's like the Constitution.
Yeah, that's the
You know, and where we have the problem between the schools and the city. Sometime when the city comes budget time and everything else, and you're saying, okay, you only can do it under the tax cap. Okay, fine. So why not give them the authority to go ahead and approve their budget 60 days before
Right.
in order so they don't have to lay off teachers, for an example, down the road.
Yeah.
But you're not going to get there unless you have a procedure.
What's so sad is this is just so purely common sense, but there are people out there that make political capital out of being anti-schools, anti-teachers, and that's really sad. And it just, we'll have you back. The thing that's like, you have to go through all this complexity, so then you get the go-ahead to make things less complex and more straightforward.
Right.
Well, Mike, thank you, and I'll be in touch soon. And maybe we can do a special or
Absolutely.
a Zoom
Well, people
call
are,
that we can put on.
sooner the better, because for the simple reason that people are receiving their ballot. Okay.
Right.
And I don't know how many people are going to vote absentee ballot this year.
Oh yeah, there's
A
already
lot.
I already
there-
got mine.
there's
Yeah,
already
so-
over 7,000 ballots at City Hall.
Well, see, that's what I mean. So,
We got to get it done.
so when you see this ballot and you get this ballot, and you pick it up and you take it home, or whatever you're going to do, or you're going to vote at City Hall, the only thing that you're doing is setting up a procedure to move forward for the other changes that's been recommended by the Charter Commission. We can't get there unless this is approved, and it's a procedure. 49B is the procedure in order for us to move forward.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Mike.
Yep. Thank you very much for having me.
Yep. We're going to take a brief break, and I'll come back and introduce Manchester to Gracie.
Okay.